Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode 61. Wow, it's been 61 episodes. There's more because there's been multi-parters and stuff, but episode 61 of Ken's Counseling Couch. I am your host, Ken Jennings. Holiday festive Ken Jennings would be more appropriate, but nonetheless, Ken Jennings. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I know sometimes the holidays can be stressful depending on your family makeup and other things along those different ideologies and belief systems and family histories all coming together at one table to sit down for a day can be stressful, putting it lightly. But hopefully you made it through, you survived, and maybe you learned something at that Thanksgiving dinner, besides the fact that 𝐓𝐢𝐩𝐬 is definitely fucking crazy. Because, I mean, everyone knew that. That's not really up in the air. But besides that, hopefully you learned something. As of right now, I don't have much of a specific topic picked for today's show. That's also later in the afternoon. My wife and I were doing some stuff this afternoon together. So that took up a few hours of the afternoon. Kind of impacted streaming, but that's fine. Don't know if this will be a super long stream, but I wanted to do one anyway because I'm going out of town in a few days for almost a week, just shy of a week. So I doubt there will be a stream next Sunday because that will be, what day is that? There's likely not going to be a stream on the 4th of December unless the place I'm going to be staying has ample internet and enough privacy to pull off a live stream. And even then, it wouldn't be that long. But if there's the ability to do that, I might. I also might do some brief locals, live streams. No video. I'll probably put like a piece of tape over my camera or something. But I would do audio. So this would be a pleasure trip. I was invited back home, quote unquote home where I grew up, to participate in an anniversary event for one of the places I was a firefighter. It's a big deal anniversary event for them, and they are inviting all former members and current members. And I haven't been up to see my family in that area for 5 years. So I'm going up for about 5 days to visit family, do the fire department event, hang out with a bunch of old friends while I'm up there, kind of catch up, see how everyone's been doing. Most importantly, and this is the good news, is I've actually got 2 job interviews scheduled for tomorrow, which is fucking great. In fact, I had 2 scheduled, but one was scheduled for tomorrow and one was scheduled for a couple days after I got back. And I got a message from the one company, and they were like, "Are you available to do an interview on Monday or Wednesday? Monday virtually or Wednesday in person?" I was like, "Yes," because that's quicker. I'm trying to get into a better position, into a better job long term that makes a bit more. And so I said yes, but the time slot they wanted me to do the interview in overlapped with the first place I had scheduled for Monday. So I was like, I can do any other time in the day on Monday except this time period. So they set up the time for me to virtually interview in the morning. Told them I'm flying on Wednesday, so I can't do it Wednesday. And other than that, so I have 2 really, honestly good job interviews scheduled for tomorrow. Both nice little private practices. I think one's growing or something. Anyway, stuff basically being back into like private practice work. Still working with the population and demographics I'm good with. And I don't know, either A, they're hurting really bad, or B, they really liked my resume and everything and wanted to schedule me sooner. So maybe by tomorrow, I'll be starting like the background check process, because that shit takes like a month or so between the fingerprinting, federal and state, local background check. It's a pain in the ass. But hopefully I'll get maybe have a nice cushy new job to start the new year. It would be a big pay increase versus what I was making. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you to the people in the chat saying good luck. So one of the things I do want to cover, because I know a couple people, I don't know if anyone in the chat is from that person's live stream, but I jumped into the Glare's live chat yesterday for a little bit to because he was talking about our best friend of the show, Critical K, and I was talking in the chat, and so maybe there's a few new people here. If you're one of those new people, nice to meet you. But I've been paying attention a bit, and maybe, I don't know, I'm finding something new to pay attention to, because kind of like a lot of the stuff I was involved in or was covering has kind of like faded away. And so I'm trying to find new content and new topics to cover. And in doing so, I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole of shit I don't really want to get into. Part of that is this true crime community shit, and it is fucking infuriating. Like, we did that stuff last week. That's where I did my whole, I need my $75, my $80 lunches, my $95 lunches to help the victims, the whole grift thing, right? So that was last week's stream, or not last week, the week before stream, which was funny. I'll give you that. I enjoyed it. I felt like shit doing it, because it was like not the most fun thing to do, but because I don't like even that kind of grip, but it just felt really weird to do that. Like, I don't think I've ate on my own dime a $75 meal by myself or with my wife. Like, maybe once in our entire marriage have we spent that much on like going to like a restaurant to eat out or something. Like you know, one of our favorite places to go is like Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen. Two of us, our meals with drinks, non-alcoholic drinks, but like, so with sodas or whatever, and our entrees, like an appetizer, we're out the door like 35, 40-ish bucks plus tip. And so that's fucking not much for two people for a decent meal, good food, but just listening to that shit was like $75, $75 for like per meal. You need that per meal every day. Like, we do that shit rarely. Like, money is tight right now. Hence, you notice the StreamYard logo up in the top right corner? You notice the leaf background? I'm on StreamYard Basic for today because money's tight with getting ready for the flight and with the way pay dates are dropping and some other shit I'm having to deal with. So guess what? Money's tight. I'm on StreamYard Basic today. I don't care. Do you see me bitching? No. Because guess what? I'm still streaming. I streamed like this before I had like a StreamYard Premium or Basic or whatever the fuck it is. Or the free version. I don't fucking pay attention to whatever it is. This is my Starbucks of whatever the smallest cup is. I don't have like the venti or whatever it is. So, but real quick, let me go ahead and do this. From Tim, Lost Bullets for 50 Canadian dollars. I think that ends up being like what, $2 in American? No, but seriously, that's a decent amount of money. Thank you, Drexel and Tim. Want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Congrats on Nick beating you to posting rear end pics on the net. Are you sure about that? There might be rear end pics of me on the internet, but not under the name Ken Jennings. And also, for $20 more, Tim says, here's the tip, just a tip. Thank you, Tim. I know you tend to like giving the tip and tend to only give just the tip, is the common complaint. I've read on the feedback forms that people submit afterwards. So 𝐷𝐻𝐼Rule47 says, can't hope you had a great holiday, fool. It was uneventful. I actually slept most of the day. My wife and I weren't feeling good. I was having like one of the issues that when you have chronic pain like I do, and you're going out of town, is getting your medications prescribed and given to you early is sometimes a hassle. Like I have to explain it and get permission from the pharmacy at the VA, and it's a pain in the ass. So like there's that. I was waiting on a refill for my ADHD med, which helps counteract because like I take a lot of the pain meds for my back pain, and so they're obviously CNS depressants, and so they kind of make you sleepy sometimes. Plus the muscle relaxers, the gabapentin, like that stuff. It's just a lot on your body. So my ADHD med helps counteract the effects. And actually, from research I had done prior on that, Adderall or dextroamphetamine, actually helps boost the pain, the analgesic effects of morphine and opioids. I think it's specifically just morphine. I don't remember if it was other opioids, but I know morphine for a fact that it actually will boost the pain relief you get from it. It's actually really neat. So, but getting all that stuff ready, like I'm getting the rest of my clothes washed. I've actually got to set up my green screen and shit to do my virtual interview in my office to work my interviews tomorrow. That's going to be fun. Got to clean up, make my beard look nice and good. And so, 𝐷𝐻𝐼Rule47 says, when's the next casting couch session? I want to see who's the next Spurg you get on. So I highly doubt this happens, but I'm proposing it to, and I know if Twisted listening or Twisted watches this later, she's going to yell at me to tell me not to touch the poo. But I'm doing this out of pure, honest curiosity, and I would never normally do this, and I'm only going to offer this to one person for one specific thing. Because normally I would grift the shit out of something like this. I think the only way I can make this actual casting couch session work is if I get them to do it this way. I don't know if you guys remember, a while back, we did a stream where some chick was telling me I was violating HIPAA. Like, everyone who doesn't understand how HIPAA works, and was wanting me to lose my job or license because I told them that I've had, and it was a bit blunt, but I'm like, I had a client who was raped who was more willing to get their shit together than you within like a day of them being raped. And you're here bitching over XYZ, and that fucking claws them the fly off the handle. But this person, as I covered in that stream, was part of a murder, and I was going to, because I really want to hear the story in like a narrative format where I can talk and interview. And I'll be honest, is like, if they come on, I'm going to be completely neutral to them. I have no hate against them for any of the stuff that, like, I'll set all that shit aside to have a fair and honest interview with them, because I want to talk for like an hour. And then this is the kicker. They will get 100% of the super chats, and the super chats will be asked as part of the agreement to do the live stream interview. Is you come on, I talk to you, any super chats get asked as questions, any ones that you answer or listen to or provide responses to, you'll get money for them. But if you just take off, you're not going to get the ones you didn't do, but you get 100% of the money from that stream, because they're pretty poor. They're basically poverty level, like really bad money. Like, I'm not going to be hurting for a stream if they get a few $100, where for them that's a lot of money, and I don't care what they do with it. But I feel if I could do that for an hour and talk to them and ask the questions and do it just right, I'll know for a fact whether or not they were maliciously complicit in the murder of that person or not. I doubt they take me up on it, but that's the thought process I had. Doubt it happens. Just throwing it out there as an idea of something I want to do. So, I don't think they'll do it because I don't think they have other issues, and I think they'll think that I'm trying to set them up or something, and I'm not. I just legitimately want to not get the story one-sided from 5 to 10 minute recorded videos, a dialogue, because I know a lot of the facts of the case because of watching like AP's documentary series on it. So I know a lot of the facts of the case. I've read I have access to the documents. Like, I would like to just be able to do that interview and be like, look, I'm gonna ask you questions. I'm gonna be, not gonna just give you a cakewalk here, but you want to tell your story. This is the perfect place to do it, because I'm not gonna sit here and berate you. I'm gonna be nice and just shit to you. So I don't know, because normally I would say 50-50 split, but I think the only way I'm gonna get them is if I give them all of it. Maybe do 75-25 offer, but I might do that as a buffer to bargain with. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they'll just ignore my emails and messages. So it's pointless. So it was just an idea I had last night while watching another creator. Don't think it's going to happen. Let's see. What is great? Hold on. 𝐋𝐨𝐜𝐚𝐥𝐬 says, any thoughts on the national ADHD drug crisis? So when you say that, are you talking about like the overprescription of ADHD meds to minors as a way to treat normal, quote unquote, normalish behavioral problems for their ages, or are you talking about adults? Because one of the biggest things I'll advocate for is, I think that, and I've seen it and personally had to deal with it with dealing with controlled substances. I take morphine for my pain, for my back pain, which is a lot of morphine. The amount I take would kill most people if I gave it to you and you don't take it normally. Tolerances are a bitch. But getting that medication before the VA gave me my meds was a bitch. And sometimes pharmacists would be like, we can't fill it, or they would say we don't have it. Don't always know if they have it or not, because at one point I was on a different extended release and it was a name brand, so it was a little hard to find. So it could have been they didn't have it, but they see someone who's young, not missing any limbs, it wasn't at this point, was off of a cane, not a walker, no wheelchair, and they see a huge amount of morphine, because at that time it was 120 milligrams a day. Thankfully, I've come down a bit. And they think I might be abusing it, or whatever, or that I don't need it. And so they can rightfully not fill the prescription. They're allowed to do that. Which, for someone who's in chronic pain, not having your pain meds is a bitch. So, I honestly, and I've had conversations with my own doctors at the VA, when we talk about all the red tape they have to go through because of the DEA, and all the paperwork, and for example, the VA has me on a pain med contract plan. So they, for example, people have said, why don't you try CBD or marijuana? I can't, because if not even talking about my job, like, I'm sure I could find an employer that might be okay with it, but if the VA ever sees me test positive for marijuana, I lose access to my opioids. They just cut you off. No tapering, they just cut you off. I take almost 100 milligrams of it a day. Just cutting me off would be awful, regardless of whether or not finding out if marijuana, it's not worth the risk, because I do get random drug screens from the VA. It's easier to probably find heroin in my local neighborhood if I wanted to help if I couldn't get my meds for whatever reason. Like, if I'm an average person going to a regular pharmacy, it would probably be easier to get heroin, get shit off the street, than to get a prescription filled. That's sad. Is there issues with pill mills and stuff like that? Yes. But when you've restricted access to people's legitimate needs for pain relief, when you've made it to where they have to suffer to wait, there was a creator I was watching yesterday They just had surgery, and they have a history, and they've been clean for many, many years, but they had a history of substance abuse, and they've been clean for years. I think they said like 6-something years, like 60 years or more. And as part of their post-surgery, they were given a small prescription of Vicodin, I think, or something. And even though the prescription was sent to the pharmacy, the pharmacist said, you need to contact your doctor to make sure we can prescribe this to you and give this to you. I guess because for some reason, I don't know why the pharmacy knew or had the information. I don't know how, but they verified that the person could, maybe I don't know, like for example, maybe they had like Suboxone, which is commonly given to someone who's been on high doses of opioids and is like an alternative for pain relief that's not addictive kind of thing, sort of. And so maybe they saw that, and so they were trying to get clarification. It was done wrong, in my opinion. It's dumb. And so like they felt awful because they were in pain. They couldn't get their prescription filled. They're feeling like, they're being shamed. And, I countered, I said, for them, it's also kind of helping you, because what if you truly do struggle? The doctor didn't think about it. It was just done kind of, hey, post-surgery, here's your pain meds, post-surgery, here's your pain meds. And they forgot about, in that moment, prescribing you, hey, you do have a substance abuse issue. Here's the pharmacist kind of doing a CYA and going, let me just make sure, because you do have this history. Not everyone's able to be clean. And then whatever they were on, I don't know what the person was on, but, to go from being clean for 6 years and even taking, 3 or 5 days worth of that could be too much. It could spiral them out of control. I don't know their limits. I don't know how difficult it was. The pharmacist probably doesn't. So it was the pharmacist maybe acting in their best interest, probably protecting themselves too, because DEA is a bitch with how they regulate all these drugs. But I don't like how it's done. But listening to that story yesterday was kind of like, well, shit. How is someone supposed to actually get the help they need? So, also, hi Spectre, you're here. What's up, buddy? The CK Help says probably for both, mostly adults. The startups are responsible for major shortages. Taking the meds where people really need it. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of issues with the way this shit's dealt with and this shit's done. I do not like the way it's handled. I do not like a lot of the ways that meds are dealt with. Being someone who has to deal with it, it does impact my life. And I don't like it. I think it could be done better. Just like, if you talk about guns and gun control, because God help me, I can't help but get on Twitter and on one of my shitposting accounts talk about guns and how people don't fucking understand how gun control and shit and all that stuff works. But it's just frustrating because I get people, like, for example, on that topic, want to see the horrible shit end. And when you tell them something like, statistically, mass shootings are a drop in the bucket of overall homicides, overall mass shootings, or mass shootings, like school shootings, or like statistical anomaly, a couple hundred, school fatalities and school shootings or whatever, or a year, and that's high. Like that's a higher estimate. Like that's total mass shootings, and that's not always school. Over the 12 to 15,000 annual firearm homicides, most of those with handguns, and people focus on the things that aren't the problem, but it's an emotional thing. You tell people, oh, it's statistically insignificant. It's like 1 or 2%. Well, we have to do something. Fucking tripping and freaking out and reacting isn't going to fix anything. Whether that's for meds, whether that's for guns, whether that's for anything. You getting emotional and not thinking rationally doesn't solve the problem. It's no different than if anyone here, and Tracy will back me up on this, if you've ever done therapy, if you have something go down, the last thing you'd want to do is act emotionally. and not think it through and not go, is this really the best decision? And not even digging into all the politics of it. Because I will genuinely go out there. There are people online and in the real world and congressmen and senators and whoever who are putting their politics into it. But even taking all that out, I'm sure a lot of them just don't want to see it happen again. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It goes back to the same thing. Do you want to react in such a way, and you trying to do something good, you actually do something worse? That's the problem. Is people will do that, and it's sad, and it hurts more people in the long run. Like, one of the things that was, this is like the shit I've been reading the last few days online, and how it's irritating the fuck out of me, is, and I know Tim knows I will shit all over Canada because I fucking hate the way that country does things. And no offense to Canadians here in the chat and those who are watching or whatever the replay, but my God, your country does some stupid fucking shit. When you have people in your country who are saying, well, we love free speech, but we don't like, and these are like people either of executive status or legislators or whatever, saying, well, we like free speech, but dissenting opinions are bad, effectively, right? So let me see if I can find one of those fucking articles from what I was reading yesterday, because oh my God, it was so irritating. I couldn't believe I was reading it. Like, oh, it's like, because apparently Trudeau in his Emergencies Act inquiry was basically towing the line of, we don't want protests, but we like protests, but the trucker convoy protest, which was peaceful, it was honking. It was the honking. Do you remember the honking, everybody? That's a peaceful protest, but that's bad. Like, we got to do so much as find the 200 truckers and companies involved and literally shut down their bank accounts with no liability to the banks, mind you, right? Just fucking shut down all their finances. They can't get it out. The only way they were supposed to be able to get it out was, I think from what I understood, is they didn't end up actually implementing this, but it was going to be, if you wanted your bank account back opened, you needed to interview with the police because you were involved in this horrible protest, right? And so what does Justin Trudeau in Canada do for the first time ever? Implement the Emergencies Act for a peaceful protest. But let's ignore all the other protests and shit that go down. Nothing gets done for those. None of the breaking shit, burning, none of that shit gets nothing. You sit in Ottawa for a couple weeks honking and jamming up traffic. And my God, the government loses their fucking mind. Right? And as part of that, the government losing their fucking mind, they don't think free speech is something you really need. Like, it's, you don't really need it. Like, for example, because one of the websites I'm pulling up these articles on, where'd it go here? Like, just this was posted today. It was posted yesterday. It says, titled, Trudeau says he feels, quote, serene and confident over decision to freeze protesters' bank accounts. Could you imagine if Trump or Biden as president did anything like that in reaction to it? Like, and don't get me wrong, and Tim will be happy to tell you, the laws in Canada are different than laws in the United States. We have different protections than Canadians do. That's fine. I get that. But what bothers me the most isn't necessarily that the politicians are saying it. It's the amount of people who think that silent, like, I shit you. Hold on. Let me find this, because I took a screenshot of this, because this has got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen people lose their fucking mind over. I gotta go into my gallery and find my screenshots from last night. Is it this one? No, hold on. It's all my, where'd it go? There we go. Let's see. I think I can find it now. I think I can pull this screenshot up. I just gotta send it to myself. That did not work right. What is it? You could tell I planned ahead for this show, right? Definitely high quality shit going on right now. Where the hell's the send to PC button? I would cue the background music, but I don't think I have that feature enabled with the free version at the moment. Here, I'll just send it to my Discord and do it that way. Let's try it that way. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, now I can pull it up. So if you're in general chat, you get a sneak peek of the where'd it go? All right, pull up my Discord and pull up this image. Open original. And all right, so I'm gonna pull this up to you. So people have been legitimately, not like shit posting, legitimately been tagging the Shopify CEO and saying that what I'm about to show you violates their acceptable use policy. And that this is Shopify supporting Nazis, right? That this is supporting Nazism, right? I want you to see how horrific and awful this is. And Tim, I'll hit on that as soon as I finish this part. But it was so horrific and awful that Shopify was allowing this content to be, these products to be sold on one of the Shopify stores. Are you ready? Please cover your eyes if you're worried. Right? Cover your eyes if you're worried. Let me go ahead and full screen this. Tagging at Toby right here is the Shopify CEO. Shopify makes profit off Nazi memorabilia. It's legitimately clothes, trade, rank, cloth insignia, shooting lanyards and cap, breast sleeve eagles, buttons, collar tabs, shirts, all from branches of political, civilian, and military from 1933 to 1945. So it's old Third Reich military, like awards and rank insignias and shit, right? All of this, like, don't get me wrong, like, one of these would be cool to own for a historical thing, right? Just historically. Like, would I display it at work? No. But I would be cool to have. Like, one of the things I have, because one of my job in the military involved nuclear stuff, and one of my things running back even into my youth, I always thought nuclear physics and nuclear weapons and shit were cool as fuck. And one of the things that my wife actually got me as a birthday present was the Chernobyl liquidators medals, because one of the things on it's the alpha, beta, gamma types of radiation, and it's a really cool thing. It's just a really cool piece of history, right? Does that mean I want to, have shittily made nuclear power plants built and managed by Soviet era people poorly? No, I don't want that. But for the historical purpose, I think it's cool, right? So all this awful stuff here, like, this is Shopify supporting Nazism and Nazism, white supremacy, by selling historical merchandise from 1933 to 1945, right? So two comments when I took the screenshot: 50 retweets, 235 likes, and this wasn't even the main person's comment. This was part of a bunch of people tagging the CEO, right? Someone said, and this was a good point, so let me go down to this part. Tall Poppy here, and I didn't have time to censor it. I don't care. You could find it if you just do the exact quote search on Twitter or on Google anyway. It'll pull up the exact tweet. I'd given up on censoring most things. It says, your actual mandate is to ban and destroy everything historical we can learn from. And then, citing a very important quote, those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. George Santayana, whatever. I don't care to pronounce things right today. No likes, right? And that was, when I took the screenshot, this was posted 16 hours ago. So no, not a single like. Get very deep down in the comments. But 3 comment replies, right? And so, not the original person who said that, but said, you can read a book for history. You don't have to buy a swastika. No one is falling for this bullshit argument, fascist. Unlike, right? Do I need to begin to explain like why this is a stupid argument to make, right? Oh, you can read a history book. Well, not everything's in the history book. And you know what? Having a piece of memorabilia, like if I displayed that on the wall, like it's part of like a collection of like historical shit. Like say I collect history shit, and I have a historical collection. I have kids, say I have kids, or grandkids, or guests over. You know, like why? And someone goes like, "Why would you have that?" Be like, because this was, you know, you could say using the rank of like an enlisted rank, like a lower enlisted rank, like because you could use I could make the argument like this person right here, it's the person who wore this patch might have just thought they were doing the right thing, that they didn't see the long-term consequences. And you could have this whole long spiel about how this rank insignia for this low ass enlisted person, fresh into the fucking, you know, into the German army, not even as it's just German army, or even in that, you know, that maybe their thought process wasn't the best. Maybe they thought they were doing the right thing. And that doesn't mean that necessarily they were inherently bad. That doesn't mean everyone who's ever worn that insignia was inherently an evil person. Did they make really stupid and bad decisions? Horrific, and killed a lot of people? Yeah. Does it mean they're evil at heart? Not necessarily. And it's a very good way to keep a very important point fresh in the minds of people and then give them a different experience. Or someone could just collect them to throw them in a fucking drawer. I don't know. But reading all the different comments on this, because there's more than one person tagging the CEO going, you have Nazi memorabilia, you're selling Nazi, why isn't this a violation of the hate speech? Or why isn't this, you know, like, how is this not like, and then where's the other one I found? Jesus Christ. Let me see. Oh, don't get me wrong, Tim. I completely agree. There was another one I found too. Let me see if I can find it. Where'd it go here? I was saving a bunch of Second Amendment memes last night, so. Someone commented, I'm going to read it for you because it's on my phone. This is a different person than any of the people who are in this on this Twitter comment said. This person says, people who tried to get Shopify to stop carrying this stuff several years ago, and they gave up. When someone like Toby, the CEO, thinks selling Nazi stuff is important for free speech. Again, this is this person. This is not me saying it, YouTube. There aren't enough dead Jews in the world to convince him otherwise. Because selling historical memorabilia of the Third Reich is like there's in Tracy, whether you agree with me or not, please tell me that I'm not the only person with some sort of education in this stuff that is seeing multiple cognitive distortions in the thought process and thinking errors here. Like there has got to be like 5 of the couple, like dozen or so. There's like 5 or 6 of them that are like being used to justify it. Like it makes no sense to me. It just doesn't work. Nernieth, this is just no one in particular. We're just talking about some shit I discovered yesterday by accident. I kind of wish I didn't. And how stupid some people's logic is what this is, right? Also, let me share this one too. I gotta send this to Discord. Hold on. It was a pretty good. This was a pretty good one too. So I think this one's worth sharing. So just gotta make sure. That I don't think there's any like. My issue is reading a book by itself doesn't give you like the human side of it. because by the time it gets to a writer and an author and it gets to edited and like things get stripped out. Like I could hold the rank insignias and I could like go grab a pair of my own from when I was in the Air Force, hold up the same level rank and go, I remember what it was like to be this lowly person. And I still believe that what I did was in service to my country. And I think I can justify that. It was a strategic mission and it was important for world nuclear deterrence effectively, right? It had a very important role. Maybe in 20 years, I'll go and go, oh my God, I was doing awful thing. I don't think I'm in one of those positions, but I can go and compare those two insignias and go, I remember when I had this patch sewn onto my uniform. I remember how wet behind the ears I was. And you're just, I knew I wanted to do this. I did, and because not everyone necessarily joined voluntarily in the German army, but you could convince yourself you're doing the right thing. And I could put that human aspect into it, and it makes it more real. So, yeah, and I don't want to buy one necessarily. I mean, I might buy one just as I think it's neat, historical. Do I really want one? No. I would probably only do it at this point just to piss people off. But in general, I think it has the potential to be, because if I can make something like that, if I tell you to, anyone who's ever suffered death by PowerPoint, right? You had to do like trainings. And so look here, look at this flashy, look at this PowerPoint. We have to go over all this stuff. And it's so helpful. Like this is why we need to, going back to my Air Force days, here's all the reasons that we shouldn't sexually assault someone. And here's why it's bad. Like no one, like everyone's tuned out. No one's actually like registering that information at that point because it doesn't do anything. Versus if I bring real emotion into it and I bring, if I were to do that same training and bring in someone, not I would, but as an example, like bring in someone who was a victim of like a military on military sexual assault and be like, this is the damage that it can do to, and have them tell their story. It's going to hit a lot harder. And that impact is going to stick, I think, a lot further than if I tell someone to read a book or go on Wikipedia. And I could see what you mean, Tracy, but I just would say, I don't see how a person purchasing historical memorabilia would be contributing to the harm of others. If I'm buying like again, it's a hypothetical. If I'm selling brand new t-shirts that say like, kill all the Jews, and the money's going to organizations that target Jews and they're anti-Semitic, and it has like current actual hateful implications, I could see that. It's the opposite that I would, that I could see the argument being made. That's causing direct harm. Historical memorabilia probably sold by some random collector guy. How is that contributing to harm would be my argument. So, and like the arguments that these people are making is just the fact that they're selling it is causing harm. Like, and this is kind of where this next one's coming into. It kind of relates to that, right? So this person here is talking about the libs of TikTok. This person here, with the thumbs up or whatever, this person here says boosting someone's post is terrorism. Talking about I guess the Shopify CEO having shared or something, or saying that the libs of TikTok could have their Shopify store because it wasn't causing harm. And then this person here says, is what you've cultivated an audience like the one Shia, who is I think the owner of the libs of TikTok Twitter account. Also, she doesn't boost people's posts. Her account name isn't libs of Twitter, it's libs of TikTok. She can't do her thing over there because they had good sense to ban her. Mr. Irony says, so she had different people following her, then would she be fine doing what she does? And then this is the part I disagree with, because that one doesn't stand. I think I missed one of the screenshots. Does her homophobic and transphobic editorializing would still be an issue? There would probably be fewer bomb threats at children's hospitals and fewer nightclub shootings if her followers weren't right-wing terrorists. So like that, this is the kind of mindset that I think is is damaging. Like, I think too many people, like, do I follow people on Twitter I don't fucking like? Yes. Mostly do it to kind of keep an eye on what they're talking about. See if it's important or not, right? It's the everyone's a terrorist. Everyone's this or that. Like, we are doing, like, and I this has got to be the funniest thing I think that's happened with whether you like or hate Elon Musk. The funniest fucking thing I think that has happened so far with this is Alyssa Milano saying, I gave up, I gave my Tesla back. I want nothing to do with it because this platform, supports white supremacists and Nazis and shit. And instead, I got a Volkswagen electric vehicle. The literal company founded under Hitler's Third Reich. Like, legitimately, the Volkswagen Motor Company was created during the 1930s as a company under the Hitler regime. Like, if I wrote this in a book, no one would believe me because they would say that's too on the face. And then Nick Rikita got trolled when someone said, I refuse to support SpaceX and Elon Musk because of him supporting Nazis. I will only support NASA. Which the joke being is, after World War II, we hired and we recruited a bunch of Nazi scientists from Germany, and it helped us get into space and win the space race, and helped us do a lot of important shit. And I mean, today that would probably never fly. At the time, was it probably a good thing to do? Probably. It made sense. You'd rather have them with their high levels of, because Germany was kicking ass at different points in the war with just the level. Like, if you want to watch some interesting shit, like watch like the Nazi super weapons shit on like Netflix or Hulu or whatever. Like, look at some of the fucking technology. Like, they were beating our asses with some of the things they were coming with. The only thing that they fucking failed at was, had they been a little bit smarter, they probably would have developed the A-bomb first, and then the game would have been over. Thankfully, they didn't really understand how to, and plus we had the one of the reasons. There's a few reasons why the Germany didn't get the atomic bomb, was they had diversified with too many different like giant projects, and the funding was just tight, and so the Germany reactor program, to try and do more of that stuff, the funding wasn't there, the personnel wasn't there. Think there was some pieces missing as far as getting to the next steps. Plus the US, once we figured out that you could possibly do it, we dropped a fuckload of money into the Manhattan Project, which some of the coolest shit, both unclassified, that you'll find on the World Wide Web, and the shit I can never talk about. Some of the neatest shit I think I've ever seen. How we pulled some of it off. The technology we had at the time, how we were able to figure out things like branching ratios and being able to accurately measure them. Like, I've looked at, like, charted nuclide branching ratio charts, because I had to use it at my old job, from the 40s, and looked at current ones. And the numbers are within like a few, like, thousands of talking like kill electron volts is like kill electron volts. So like within a few point, like thousandths of an EeV, or like an EV or KeV. Like, it's amazing the people that did that project. It's fucking fascinating. Like, I could talk about that for days. So we did, and they ran out of time too in bombs destroyed. They did a lot of, yeah, that's what I meant. They're like, they weren't close to it. They were a couple years behind us at the point at the ending of the war. There's a whole, I can't remember where, but like you'll see pictures of like from one of the German facilities. Plus we also did things to kind of help deter them from getting to the bomb quicker. Like, we did a whole attack on a heavy water factory which heavy water is a thing. I don't want to go into the physics of it right now, but like a whole heavy water factory that would have been important to do a lot of the stuff that you would need to enrich uranium and all that. And thankfully, we took it out. We did some other stuff to help inhibit their getting to the bomb quicker. If they had focused sooner, they probably could have gotten it. But thankfully they did. Obviously, thankfully they didn't. But they weren't close enough to what it would have taken them a couple of years, I think, if I remember correctly. From what I could talk. Yeah, okay. From what I remember from like public sources, like they were a couple of years away. So shut up, Tim. That's not funny. Quit bullying. So yeah, but like I said, I could go on about nuclear shit for a while. I love this stuff. Also, thanks to everyone who's jumping in the stream. I'm watching. Let's see. But yeah, so that's like one of the things. And then Tim also asked me to mention earlier. Let me scroll back up. So I quoted exactly where to go. He said, Tim said, can be sure to point out that the Emergencies Act in Canada's version of we're at war, national emergency, our continued existence requires these powers to defend ourselves. And, oh, by the way, there's a Quebec court case right now where the Crown is being asked by the judge to prove Nazism led to the Holocaust. Otherwise, they're throwing out the hate speech charges. No shit. Dude, you're going to have to send me that link or something. That looks interesting to follow. Right? This is going to slightly dox my YouTube shitposting account. I'm not going to post the pictures, but I've been in an argument on someone with Twitter the last day. And they were talking about hate being illegal. I'm like, no, hate's not illegal. And then they thought they one-upped me, and they were like, they Googled hate speech or hate crimes. And they were like, oh, see, all these things about hate speech and hate crimes, you should sit down and shut up. And I'm like, hate crimes aren't its own category of like hate. Like the crime already existed without the hate. Like the hate crime was you doing X or Y, you beating the shit out of someone. The hate crime is you beating the shit out of someone because they're a man or a woman, they're black or they're white, they're Muslim, they're Jewish, they're Christian. That's the hate crime. It's an enhancer for the already like, but hate itself, if I want to hate anything in particular, at least in the US, hate is not illegal. And so I've had this back and forth with this person for a day now of they think they're one-upping me. And I'm like, no, you're being fucking stupid. Hate cannot be illegal because hate is a speech. Hating is an act of expression and speech. You cannot have hate, the thoughts and the ideas and the speech, unless the speech incites imminent lawless action, be illegal. And it's like they don't want to fucking listen. Like, there's just something that's irritated me, right? But back onto the Canada stuff, like, it bothers me when people are willing to sacrifice their freedoms for safety, and that's never a good idea. It's never a good idea. And it scares me when I watch tons and tons and tons of citizens from like countries like the UK, Australia, Canada, willing to give up my free speech. All these critical things, and it's like, how do you fucking, like, I just don't. Why would you want to give up, like, maybe it's me being an American and I don't get it, but I could not, like, at one point in my life, I was like, I'd like to travel the world. I'd like to go to these countries. Now it's like, I don't ever want to step foot in those countries because it wouldn't surprise me if I showed up and they're like, oh, you have a YouTube stream talking about this. That's hateful. You're under arrest. Like, am I being slightly paranoid? Probably, but I would not know if I would actually, and ironically, given the arguments made by people from the countries, is I don't know if I would feel safe to be able to be myself. And it's not like I say anything hateful or racist or whatever. Like, You've watched me, you've interacted with me. Any person will tell you I'm pretty far from any of those things. But do I say spicy and controversial things sometimes? Yes. I don't think I could say those if I visited any of those countries and tried to do this stream. I don't know if I could say the shit I'm saying now in some of the countries. And that bothers me. And maybe that's just, like I said, maybe that's my bias of having grown up in a country that really enshrines its freedoms the way we do. Maybe I'll never understand that. But Tim wanted me to bring this up. This is the thing about lawyers debate whether Nazism led to Holocaust as Montreal hate speech trial resumes. So let me zoom in a bit. The lawyer for a Montreal man accused of willfully promoting hatred against Jews argued in court. Hey, Tim, is this your court case? I knew you were being sued, but was it for I'm sorry, buddy. I'm kidding. In court Friday that the prosecution failed to properly define Nazism or present evidence about what happened during the Holocaust. Actually, sounds like a decent legal point. Not 𝐓𝐤𝐬𝐻. I'm not a lawyer. The lawyer for a Montreal man, Helene Poussard, that's my best impression of French, told Quebec court judge Manlio Del Negro that he could not take, quote, judicial notice of the fact 6 million Jewish people were killed by the Nazis. The facts presented in court can, quote, be, quote, judicially noticed when they are generally accepted or so notorious that a debate is not needed about them. Poussard's client, Gabrielle Sophia Chaput, 36, faces one charge of willfully promoting hatred in connection with an article he wrote for neo-Nazi website Daily Stormer that said 2017 would be the year of non-stop Nazism everywhere. That's a bit spicy. Oh shit, hold on. God damn it. Towards the end of the Sohir Chaput's trial in July, Del Negro rebuked the prosecution for not calling an expert witness to establish that the murder of Jews by the regime of Adolf Hitler was a consequence of Nazi ideology. The judge called for a debate, which occurred Friday, about whether it is indeed common knowledge that the Daily Stormer is a far-right website and whether Nazism led to a genocide against Europe's Jews. On Friday, Poussard attempted to argue that the number of Jewish people killed in the Holocaust was not known, but Del Negro stopped her. He asked whether she was arguing that he could not take judicial notice of any part of the Holocaust. You are disputing the number, he asked, about the genocide of 6 million Jews. I'm not disputing anything, she responded. What I'm saying is that you don't have judicial knowledge. And maybe Tim can define some of these terms if that would be helpful, if you want to come up. Poussard also argued that people who were not members of the Nazi Party participated in the killing of Jews during the Second World War, and that the meaning of Nazism in 2017 may be different than it was in Germany during the 1930s and 1940s. That actually is an interesting point, I think. And again, I'm not defending the guy. It is a person like... The defense lawyer said the prosecution should also have called an expert witness to testify about how the Nazis saw the Jews as inferior, given that they also saw many other ethnic groups as inferior to Germans. That is true. Prosecutor Patrick Lafreniere, I'm probably butchering this, I don't care, addressed the court briefly after Poussard. He said the judge could take judicial notice by using a reliable source for information about how the Nazis considered Jewish people to be inferior. I was going to make a joke about a source, but I'm not. One way for you to take judicial notice is by consulting a reliable, easily verifiable source. Wikipedia. He said, suggesting that the judge could look in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Oh, hey, at least they picked a somewhat good, reliable source there. I would swear to God, if they said Wikipedia, I would have thrown my fucking laptop. Outside the courtroom, Emmanuel Lamarck, Quebec Policy and Research Director at the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, said the trial shows the need for mandatory education in Quebec schools about the Holocaust and anti-Semitism. Quote, the Holocaust is a fact. It's been recognized as a historical fact by Canadian jurisprudence, but also since the summer, Holocaust denial is now a criminal offense in Canada, which I find that more problematic than the denial of the Holocaust itself. Come at me, bro. If you disagree, come at me. The Holocaust is the most carefully documented genocide in the world. It was documented by its perpetrators, by their victims, by bystanders. There's physical evidence. There is all kinds of evidence of the Holocaust, she said. It is undisputed fact. Del Negro said he will deliver his verdict on 𝐋𝐨𝐜𝐚𝐥𝐬 on January 23rd. All right. So that was the article there. I was just trying to see if there was like a comment section or not. Okay. See what people were saying, but I don't see one. So, yes, I do like the Santa hat. I want to say thanks to Stegas for that. Yeah, here, I'll post it in the Discord. Look in general chat. Actually, I still have your DM open, so there you go. So there you go. Come join us. Say, you're the Diet Coke of hate, Ken. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Let's see. Question that might be slightly related. Where do you think that the line is on gatekeeping, quote, hateful behavior inside a voluntary group, such as a club or church, versus involuntary, such as government? Ooh, that's a good question. I'd have to think about that. I would say that I think that any voluntary group by its own nature gets to, if I take the little L libertarian stance for a second, the group by itself can freely associate with whoever it wants to and can set its own rules. So there you go. You could, if you don't want, if you don't want any like hateful behavior, like even the slightest, your group, you get to decide. You want to, start, as much as I hate the fucking site, build your own internet, build your own church, build your own club, right? That's the best way I would be able to say, because just as I'm against forcing things against people, I don't want to force the opposite either. You should be free to make choices on your own. Like the whole, there's a California law that's currently I was reading this too. There's a California law that is being challenged about doctors potentially being disciplined or maybe even losing their license for spreading, quote, COVID misinformation, that is probably a violation of the First Amendment, and actually has the ACLU and several other groups that are normally on opposite sides of the argument coming together against this law, because the standards are vague, and it's just, if it's not harming, like every doctor, we all, like therapists, right? We all have kind of a baseline we work off of. Everyone works a little differently. Doctors all get the same kind of base education and build their stuff from there. Or I have built myself at this point in my life and career, way different. Like you walk into two different therapy offices. I'm room A, the other person's room B. We're doing therapy probably two totally different ways. They probably still both work. Does that mean anyone's necessarily wrong? Should my way be legislated or forced away? Or should theirs be forced away because I think mine's better, or vice versa? Right. Also, here's Tim for, sorry for the delay, Tim.
Hey, what's up?
So did you want to explain like what judicial notice means in case no one understands that? Because I know what it means.
Oh, that's a pretty easy one. Oh yeah, perfect. I was just about to ask you about that. So judicial notice is essentially just facts accepted as true. I don't remember what the Latin term is. We don't use Latin very much in either Canada or the US court proceedings anymore. But it's a fact that's accepted as true. So what the judge has gone and done here is rejected the fact automatically accepted as true that being a Nazi equals the outcome of the Holocaust. I.e., if you were to allow Nazis back into power, a Holocaust is sure to happen afterwards. Do you understand how the judge would want to split hairs there? because
So
one is not automatic from the other, right?
I would agree with that.
Right? Is all A B, and if all A's are B and all B's are C, that means all A's are C, right?
Sure.
So, what the judge is careful here is that no, I'm not going to make it an automatic fact that Nazism equals the the systemic extermination of Jews.
So you're telling me that the Daily Stormer and Kiwi Farms having websites isn't going to cause the automatic extermination of Jews? Like,
well, that depends. They might actually want that.
who?
What I'm saying might actually upset them.
Oh.
Again, that's it's a weird thing to argue because you know, I mean, it's no secret that there's a lot of anti-Semitism on both those websites. To have that fact to be not automatically true, they might actually be like, "Oh no, man, that goes against what we think."
So my pushback is I'm going to go ahead and I would probably feel comfortable betting that the court's just going to judicially notice that the facts are as presented, like that.
Well, this is part of the judge's discretion. I mean, just like in the U.S., Canada gives judicial discretion a lot of leeway. It's a marked and substantial departure from what a reasonable judge would determine is the grounds to overturn that judicial discretion. The obvious exception is jurisprudence, right? So if you're ruling differently on something that's already been decided in the past under similar circumstances, then no, you don't get to exercise discretion. You should follow the jurisprudence.
Yeah, we have the kind of stare decisis here in the U.S. Effectively would be a similar thing for you guys, right?
Yeah, we have it here too. It's and because we both inherited British common law, it's central to the way our courts work.
Another thing I've seen that, and I'd like your input on it. I know that the U.S. has tried passing this law recently, within the last few years, to undo end-to-end encryption on like Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and Signal, in the efforts of fighting CP and terrorism. Which
Canada tried something like that too, called the Internet Snooping Bill.
They're doing it right now. It's in Parliament.
Yeah, we tried it in the past too, and it was actually introduced by a conservative government. Go figure. And at the time, I think it was our public safety minister said, "Hey, if you oppose this, you're on the side of the child pornographers."
I think because there's a bill that I forget the name of it, but it was co-sponsored by Lindsey Graham of all fucking people and someone else.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I fucking hate
Lindsey Graham is probably the most pro-censorship conservative I've ever seen. Like he's your war hawk conservative, right? He'll vote for every war on the planet, and he wants to censor porn. Like to him, hentai is more dangerous than BLM, Antifa, and eco justice or whatever they're called combined.
Okay, I'm sorry, I mixed it up. The UK is currently trying to ban private messaging. Canada is trying to do the whole Bill C-11, which is the whole media bill that basically would make platforms have to pay media or whatever, I think it was.
Which Australia has a thing like that where you had to pay for links to news websites. Canada's version is it controls the amount of Canadian content that platforms deliver to Canadian consumers. Yeah, which gets really confusing if you are a Canadian personality on an American stream.
Well, that will probably be like, I'm sure that they're going to fuck it up. They're going to pass it. They're going to fuck it up. All the funding that the bill is supposed to go to is, I think from what the numbers said, is most of the, like over half or more of like the money goes to like a handful of like specific like big media organizations, and like the smaller creators aren't going to see like shit. It's all going to be split between like hundreds and hundreds of like creators and companies and platforms.
Well, it's like you remember the fight between PewDiePie and T-Series, right?
Oh,
PewDiePie back then was still an independent creator for all intents and purposes. He was his own media enterprise. T-Series, on the other hand, was I think it's in India, but it's a media conglomerate. And
giant India media. It's huge.
Yeah, and it's all about popular culture. fast cars, glitz, glam, appealing to younger people, hip hop artists, Bollywood, all that stuff, right? So the battle between those two was kind of widely seen as the corporate side of YouTube taking on the independent side of YouTube.
And that fight lasted for months. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
amazing. Like the fucking, and I might just play it as a shitpost in a bit. The fucking song.
Oh, the song.
The celebration song. I fucking love that song. But like I think PewDiePie had said that he kind of expected them to kind of overtake, like did not expect the subscribe to PewDiePie shit to do anything like it did. Like he did not expect them to be able to fight it and push back. And they did amazing on pushing back. Like it was
I mean, power to the masses, but corporate YouTube won a very long time ago. Can try to search on YouTube for something and then not get a bunch of NBC, CNN, Late Night, Trevor Noah.
Yeah, I mean, everything like that comes up first.
Unless you're looking at like fails, epic fails, and it's just all fail army stuff, right? But when you're looking up, especially if it's a current event, right? If you want to see the YouTube video of, for example, I don't know, the latest shooting, and it's all just every news station's coverage standing outside a bunch of police cars.
So that's where, and I've had people actually shit on me for this. And whether you agree with me on this or not, after the New Zealand shooting, that video was trying to be taken off the internet. I actively engaged in making sure that video did not disappear off the internet. I felt it was more important for that video to be, because watching that massacre, it's like 50 people died. Like watching it being live streamed and watching the way the guy, like if I could ever cover that and like do a play-by-play, that I would get fucking yeeted off of YouTube. But like just watching that and the reaction was something you don't normally get to see. You don't get to see the live responses and behaviors of someone doing a mass shooting. Like there's like so many ways you could have really interesting content for that. But just regardless, like the New Zealand government was just trying to get it off the internet. Like this is awful. We can't, like, it's unfortunately it's a historical newsworthy thing. Like it serves a purpose to be kept, and watching it was really important to me. It was awful.
You're gonna put a little blur over the bodies. I mean, that's more preferable than just yeeting the video out of existence.
I mean, that's when that's when New Zealand blocked DNS routing to Kiwi farms. After that, because that's when the true owner of the Kiwi farms, Mundane Matt, told the New Zealand government to get fucked, and that he's not taking down their video, taking down the video. And so eventually the DNS routes for Kiwi farms got blocked in New Zealand and Australia, which there's still ways around.
Of course.
Truthfully, I'm talking about the New Zealand mosque mass shooting. I was one of the people not only seeding one of the biggest torrents, I was making sure to repost it on different platforms that archive things, because it kept, like, I think I uploaded on several different YouTube channels of mine at the time, back in the day, like just to put it back on YouTube, different like just trying to get it back out there. Because think about this, and I'll take everything as, you know, because like the manifesto, they tried to get rid of that too. Even if I took everything in the manifesto at face value, took and believed him for everything, you know, whether it was a religious or racially motivated crime or not, even if I assume so, it would be no different than starting to wipe and erase all. And this happened on YouTube for a while until there was enough pushback from all the history fucking creators that their fucking channels were getting yeeted because they were doing nothing but posting historical content. And YouTube was like, no, you can't have this. Like, okay, so let's just get rid of all the evidence that hundreds of thousands, millions of people were slaughtered. Let's just get rid of all that and let's pretend it never happened, right? like watching. I remember watching the movie, and again, I chose to do this, and I don't know if this is maybe the best parenting decision on my parents' part. I remember watching Schindler's List when I was 11, 12, 13, right? It was eye-opening. Like, you know, it really gave you a different perspective on that is, and obviously it's a movie, but that is something different than like a book, right? I could look at the picture and go, oh wow, that person's, but like just like watching the behavior, watching the way that the soldiers and the people treated the people in the camps, and just it gave you a different like thing that you're not going to get out of a book. It's like watching the shooting of 50 people being just fucking massacred in a matter of minutes. Watching them begging for it was awful shit, like watching them begging for their lives and shit. There's nothing that, I could say so-and-so was killed in this order, so-and-so raised, if I wrote a book and just basically transcribed the events of that video, it has nowhere near the same impact, right? Nowhere near the same. So as much as...
And the guy crosses the street and pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just loses a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, like there's nowhere near the same. Like that's why, going back to my argument about the memorabilia earlier, I can use two insignias, my own insignia from when I was an airman, to the what the hell was the German army called? Not the Waffen SS, the basic bitch German army. I can't remember. I don't remember. But anyway, using that as an example, right? I can hold them up. Like I remember being like, that's a good example. That's a teaching moment. That's a very good teaching moment, in my opinion. And that's nowhere, you don't get that out of a book. Plus, most people don't fucking read books. If you don't put it in 60-second videos or less, no one's paying attention anymore.
I mean,
how many people do you think are actually reading books anymore? And that's the thing. Warmock, thank you. God damn it. Thank you, chat. I love chat. Say, yeah, so like if it's not in 60 seconds or less digestible content now, who the fuck is going to understand it? And even then, are you getting the right perspective, or is there any bias influenced in it? Like, who's actually going to sit down and read a 500-page book anymore? Even if you do an audiobook, because I love audiobooks, right? Like, I have a bunch of audiobooks, like the SAO novels are finally being turned into audiobooks. They're up to like novel 7. I've already prepaid for like the ones that I can prepay for, because I've got a bunch of Audible credits I don't use all the time. So like, that's how I can read when I don't have time to sit down and read. I can listen to it at least. How many people are actually doing that? Who's going to watch 3 or 4 or 5 hour documentary?
I don't know.
Or a movie? No one.
I listen to the audio only version of your show when I need to fall asleep.
I know. Or just background noise. I've had people say, they do chores and shit while they're listening. That's why there's not always video content, because it's not always, it's effectively a podcast without, with some video occasionally.
But you know that without rules to break, no one knows how to be edgy, right? Holding on to something that is outlawed by law is our version of having a personality in 2020 or 2022, right? This is how people who, without a personality of their own and nothing to do in their spare time, this is like, oh, here's how I'm going to leave my mark on the world. I'm just going to piss a bunch of people off because I'm going to draw this backwards swastika on something. And I didn't even take the time to look up how to draw it correctly.
Like, legitimately, because I'll give him this, as much as you may like or hate the Kiwi Farms or whatever they do. Josh is amazing that he's managed to keep the farms up and running. Especially, like, he gets donations and shit, but like, to keep that amount of traffic running with all the, like, Drop Kiwi Farms, I was on their Twitter last night reading their shit. They're trying to go after the current level 3 providers or whatever for the Kiwi Farms right now. They're trying to blacklist the trace routes and shit. Like, they're not giving up on getting rid of Kiwi Farms. Like, they're dead set on making Kiwi Farms go away.
Speaking of the person going after Kiwi Farms, that person must have been quite ticked when Nick got back on.
Oh my God, I didn't even check their fucking Twitter for their reaction. I imagine it's Oh, is it bad?
I don't know. I haven't checked myself because I have better things to do with my
God.
time. Also, I've been sick with COVID for the last 5 days.
I guess I need to go to. I guess I should do it this way: is I should use their Twitter account and then search Rakita.
Okay,
Maybe,
well,
that might...
if you want to pull up the other tab that I pulled in while you're doing that, I can quickly go through. This is Canada's criminal code.
Okay.
This is what the guy's charged with: willful promotion of anti-Semitism. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple law, right? By communicating statements other than private conversation, willfully promotes anti-Semitism by condoning, denying, or downplaying the Holocaust, is guilty of an indictable offense, liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years, or is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction. This is just our version of misdemeanor.
Okay.
And then indictable is our version of felony. So it is a felony, but it's not federal time. In Canada, federal time is more than 2 years.
So does it define anywhere in the statute what
Yes.
anti-Semitism? Okay, what does it define it as?
The definition section, I think, is...
Get your shit together, Cam. Let's go.
So, communicating, identifiable group, Holocaust. It doesn't have anti-Semitism, so that is that statutory interpretation by the Crown and the judge.
That was done on purpose, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, just because the definition will change over time. Can you imagine if it's like if it's anti-Semitic to deny anti-Semitism?
So
it's like no, there's no such thing as anti-Semitism. It doesn't exist. Oh, that's anti-Semitic. You're going to jail.
I'll ask this to the chat right now: is there anyone who believes that it should be illegal to deny the Holocaust? Because if so, I really want to hear your take on it. Whether it's in Canada, the U.S., do you believe it should be illegal to deny the Holocaust, or that hate speech should be illegal? And I'm gonna leave hate speech up to interpretation.
Now there are defenses to this.
Oh my God, I'm curious what those are.
Yeah, so if you think they are true, or sorry, no, if they are true, if you establish it's true, well, good luck, Holocaust deniers. Of course, argument, opinion, or
challenge accepted,
subject.
Baby. Challenge accepted to 3.1A.
If the statements were relevant to subject of public interests, for example, if you're media quoting someone who is denying the Holocaust, right? If in good faith for the purpose of removal matters, producing, so this is just like, again, quoting for the purposes of removal, right? So yeah, I mean, look, if your intentions are good, then this law isn't going to get you in trouble. You have a way out. And these are absolute defenses too, so you will never even be charged. You don't get to raise these defenses at trial. You just don't get charged.
Well, that doesn't always mean you don't get charged. I mean, how many people get charged for shit and they have to go through the whole court system? I'm sure they do.
I mean, it's like Texas's level of self-defense type of defense, right?
I mean,
like,
people still
if
get
the investigating
charged,
officer is like, no, I think it was self-defense, they just don't lay the charges. Then same here too. If the officer investigating looks at any of these defenses and it's like, yeah, I think it falls under C, then there's no charges.
But what if it actually does fall under C, but the officer says, I don't think it falls under the defenses, so they charge him anyway. So then do you still get to present the defenses?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I would assume so. Yeah. So like, that still doesn't mean that like.
You could also then, I mean, it depends on how close it was too. Like if you just barely squeak by on a technicality under Section C defense, versus it was a blatant, like the facts were obvious that it was a Section C defense, and you can go for malicious prosecution.
I wish you could do what like Andrew Bronca has promoted the Kyle's Law, like being able to go after prosecutors for like willfully prosecuting bad cases. Like I get we have prosecutorial discretion and shit, which is a good thing, but my God, does it get abused? Like you wouldn't want every crime prosecuted. It's not possible. A and B, there are times where you shouldn't prosecute someone who maybe should.
So we actually have this cool section 319(1) and 2, which is there's simply not anti-Semitism, but just the willful promotion of hatred, which was the basis of my next video, 𝐋𝐨𝐜𝐚𝐥𝐬. I told this in your Discord before, but this is the case of an Alberta high school teacher who taught Holocaust denial for 14 years in Alberta.
Holy shit. How the hell did they get away with it?
No one complained.
No one complained?
No one complained for 14 years from
Holy shit.
What was it? 1970 to 1984, I think was the when he was charged. But yeah, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, who do you got for oh god, was he I forget what subject he taught in high school." But yeah, the high school students were like, "Oh, yeah, I got Mr. 𝐋𝐸𝐽," and everyone just told him, "Yeah, just put the Holocaust was fake on the final exam and you'll pass guaranteed."
So I'm going to make a joke right now that I could not make this joke if I was in your country right now. Right? You ready? You ready, Tim?
Sure.
That teacher was based in 𝐍𝐤𝐚𝐵. Right? I could not make that joke in your country.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can, because
am I not being anti-Semitic?
What you're doing is you're not willfully promoting anti-Semitism. So the key word there is willfully, and it is such that you have full knowledge and intention of its outcome. So unless you actually tried to be anti-Semitic, then you will never be charged under this law.
Was that anti-Semitic what I just did, though?
No. It's not objective. It's subjective. Do you think you were being anti-Semitic?
Well, if that's the case, then this law no one ever gets criminalized.
Yes, exactly.
But there's obviously someone being prosecuted.
Everyone is going to be charged under this law. No, only the people who are dumb enough to be like, "Yeah, I am anti-Semitic. I'm a neo-Nazi. What do you want from me?" Only the people who say that are going to be the ones who get charged, like this guy, the 𝐓𝐤𝐬𝐽 guy.
So this is something that you make a good point on, and it relates to something that happened to me in grad school. Is we were in I don't remember which class it was. We were in a class and it was talking about racism or something, right? And this, I made an argument. There was this discussion about, I think we're talking about things that were going on at our internships or whatever. And someone had brought up how I think an older person had said something along the lines of, "You're cute for a black girl," or something like that, right? Or "You look pretty for a black girl," or a colored girl, or something like that, right? And it didn't sound like to me that it came off with any kind of ill will or intent, right? And so there was a whole class discussion on this for I think 20 minutes or so. And I brought up the point that in that situation, given the person's age and stuff, is that they may not understand, because, they're like, people were basically saying, "Oh, that person's clearly being racist." I'm like, are they? They may not know they're being racist. They're old. They grew up in a different time period with different standards. To them, they went through a huge shift in culture for several decades, right? The 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, there's a huge shift in culture, right?
So an old 90-year-old yelling the N-word, N-words get off my grass, would not be charged under this law, because it's your subjective version of promotion of hatred. You can't be reckless in promoting hatred. That's not the standard to run afoul of this law. Reckless means that, there is a risk that you were spreading hatred. You knew there was a risk and you proceeded despite that risk, even if you didn't intend any of the further outcomes.
See,
that's what being reckless is.
That would be because I think that's kind of coming back relating to this, and that, a person can do something that you could say is objectively racist, but they may not understand it's racist, or may not know that it's racist.
Yeah.
And then people push back and say, "Well, they're so-and-so years old. How would they not know it's racist?" I'm like, because maybe no one's ever taught them. No one's ever said, "Hey, you shouldn't say that," because people are afraid to do that. And so you don't, or they don't understand, because to them, they could be like, "Oh, that's a compliment because of this." And I've seen the logic be done where someone who could make a statement like that would justify it, and how they would justify it in that mindset sounds to them rational. It seems to make sense. obviously you could kind of pick it apart, but that doesn't mean they were doing anything. And that's the thing I think comes down to with all these issues with like whether it's white supremacy, racism, Nazi, whatever it is it's that whole willful intent. Like people can do or say and engage in things that are necessarily quote unquote bad, right?
Yeah,
But they may not know that it's bad, right?
The only reason we can have these laws is we don't have a First Amendment in Canada. We don't have protection of speech. We have protection of expression. Slightly different things. But the slight enough difference allows you to have a law like this on the books. But when you get down into the meat and bones of it, what it's 1 second.
Nope, that's the
sorry.
Wait, Tim, did you hear it?
What?
Did you hear it? Wait, is that your door?
FBI, open up! Sorry, it's CSIS up here. The FBI has no jurisdiction here.
I don't care. I still like that. That's my favorite fucking thing I did as an intro. So that was my fucking favorite thing.
Tracy said, Tracy, I did not pull an Ethan Ralph. No, I'm still recovering from COVID, so I had to cough.
Sure. Say.
Did not pull an Ethan Ralph. But anyways, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, so what this actually, the speech that this criminalizes is a very, very narrow amount of speech. It also covers printed material too. So handing out pamphlets that say like, oh, the Holocaust was fake.
God damn it, I need to get rid of these papers.
So
I just spent $300 on printing.
Well, get a refund.
Okay.
But yeah, the 𝐋𝐸𝐽 case, and again, this will be the fourth time I've had to actually film this 𝐋𝐸𝐽 video because my audio keeps. I film it in StreamYard on a local recording only, and the audio keeps chopping up for some reason. I don't know why, so I'm gonna figure out what's wrong with that.
Do you have paid StreamYard or do you have?
Oh, I have paid StreamYard. All right.
There's that new local recording feature.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try that out now. I'm glad that it came. You know, I don't like associating myself with beta stuff, but I might make the exception this time.
So there's a question on the screen. Would teaching a pug to Nazi salute be considered anti-Semitic for all intents and purposes of this law?
Yeah, so we do have strong, we have the same strong fair use for comedic parody and other satiristic purposes here. We've recognized that. That would be a really, it would also depend where it happened too. A place with a more liberal judge likely would throw the book at you and interpret the statutes a different way. Because in Canada, all our crimes are federal. So every province shares the exact same criminal code. But the judge you get depends on, well, the region, right? An Alberta judge is going to be a lot more conservative than a, say, Nova Scotia judge.
That's true.
So, again, it would go back to the Crown having to prove the person who taught the dog, were they intending it as a joke or intending to spread anti-Semitism? And again, the Crown has to prove that the person accused of the crime, what they were intending. There is no objective standard. There is no, well, if you do this, then you're guilty. No, it's, did you know you were doing anti-Semitic stuff, and did you proceed despite that knowledge?
Sorry, I was trying to open up a video in the background. Say that again. I kind of missed because it started auto playing. I kind of missed what you said.
The whole explanation again?
I guess the last 10 seconds because I missed that part.
Okay. It comes back to the the subjective standard, which is the person who's accused. Did you know that what you were doing was going to spread anti-Semitism, and did you proceed despite that knowledge?
Okay.
So again, the facts matter. In the case, that's obviously a reference to Count Dankula, right? Count Dankula is a comedian. He is known as a comedian. He was clearly making that video for comedic purposes. I don't think he'd be convicted in Canada. We're in Canada. We still can't arrest you for a mean tweet. Not yet. We get closer every day, but not yet.
They do in the UK. That is the most fucking, like, I still don't know how that's a thing.
Nice voice crack, Ken.
My voice cracked?
Yeah, you had a bit of crack there. The only reason a tweet will get you a visit from our federal police force is if you made a threat to someone, specifically a politician.
I mean, I could see why that would happen.
Yeah, like if
that's like somewhat reasonable if it was like a reasonable.
Yeah, then that would get you a visit from the Secret Service in the U.S. too.
I mean, most people want to kill the president and shit all the time on Twitter, and nothing ever happens.
Yeah, but the Secret Service does actually like get a catalog of every time that happens, and then they decide, okay, is this person just messing around, or should we go pay him a visit? Like they do open an investigation into each instance, but maybe only for 5 minutes. Same here. I don't know this to be 100% for sure, but I would assume that the RCMP, every time a threat is made to a politician, even if it's tongue in cheek, even if it's in jest, even if it's made by a quadriplegic with absolutely no capacity to carry out the threat, then they investigate, they determine it's not a real threat, they close the investigation. The only time it warrants knocking on your door is if they think that if they're like 50-50 on whether you're going to do something stupid or not. And then they charge you criminally if you meet a very high criteria, i.e. it was a specific threat against a specific target and you had the capacity to carry out that threat.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, the classic example is a guy in a wheelchair threatening to kick your ass, right? That can't be a threat. There's no capacity to carry out that threat.
You sure about that?
Not in every circumstance, but in most circumstances.
Right. Well, I mean, there was that guy that was in a motorized wheelchair that cop shot like 9 times. I mean, maybe he was in fear.
I don't know what the outcome was. The cop charged in that one.
I have no idea. I
didn't like the shoot, but then again, like, I mean, look, there is a specific. Let's just say that there needs to sometimes be a reminder that you don't just get to ignore the police and walk away, or in this case, wheel away.
True.
There needs to be sometimes a little bit of a check on the people who've gotten so full of themselves that are been like, I know my Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment rights. I'm just gonna keep on walking. Am I being detained? Am I being detained, officer? And sometimes you just need to put a little bit of a check on them and remind them that no, you actually are going up against guys with guns with the license to kill. So yeah, you're actually lower on the pecking order than you think you are. So
is there anyone in chat who has not seen the 𝐋𝐨𝐜𝐴 Nazi pug video?
Oh, the host Phil's in the chat.
Hey, Phil. Phil's been in the chat. Well, that's like one of the things that, and I make the serious arguments against it relating to gun control, is that people are like, why do you need a gun? Why do you need a concealed carry? I'm like, motherfucker, I'm disabled. I have nerve damage from herniated discs, which cause pain and weakness in my left arm and my right leg. I cannot fight. It's like people are like, why don't you just fight like a man? I physically can't. Disabled. Are you against disabled people being able to not get killed? Because it sounds like you want disabled, and I take it far as a point. Are you wanting disabled people to get killed because, you don't think we should have guns? Like, I'll take it to its furthest extreme, but it still has a point.
I don't get the idea of fighting like a man means doing it bare-fisted against every advantage against you. I don't know why that equals fighting like a man.
I have no idea.
If you go by historical precedent, fighting like a man means having a world war.
Jesus Christ. I cannot believe it's been 6 years plus that the damn Nazi pug shit was going down. It feels like
6 years.
Yeah, like I'm on YouTube right now. Nazi pug update number 2 was posted 6 years plus ago, because it's within 6 to 7 years ago. So like,
well, his court case went years.
It went 2 years, but that was update number 2. There was multiple update videos. Like, it's just, and I'm a huge 𝐋𝐨𝐜𝐴 fan, and he's at 987,000 subscribers. get that mad lad over fucking a million guys. If you're
No,
not
Phil,
subscribed,
fighting like a woman is hitting first and then hiding behind a man.
you could say that.
So that then the man has to step up and defend you. That's what fighting like a woman is.
But like, it bothered me that, because like, for example, Count Dankula, like they even took away his ability to appeal. Like they took his, because he was willing to go to jail. He was willing to go to jail. He was not going to pay the fine to prove a point, right? He was not going to pay the 800 pounds. He was going to go to jail and make them take him to jail. What did they do? They went into his bank account and took out the money and paid the fine for him. Could you imagine that? Like,
oh, yes. You mean freezing bank accounts by government action?
Well, your country does it.
Not only that, but you got to remember that fines can also be garnished. They can take away your driver's license.
But
they can take it off federal benefits. Like, there's so many different ways they can get money out of you.
But it was still, I think, at the point when that happened, where they hadn't given an order for garnishment or anything. Like, he was at the point where he had up to X date to pay it, and he was like, I'm not paying it, or whatever. And I think they took it before, like, that deadline date. Or if they
Tracy,
took, like...
You can wrap your strong legs around my head any day.
God damn it, Tim. Do I have to take you off the stream? Okay. This is why we have to have extra trainings, Tim. Thank you. But it bothers me that, for Count Dankula, that he wasn't even given the ability to make the choice, his freedom of expression, right? To choose whether or not to pay the fine, right?
Well, no, paying a fine is not freedom of expression.
Well, if I'm remembering it correctly, he was not given the choice because it was pay the fine or go to jail. They did not want to see him go to jail over speech.
It's not. First of all, I'd have to look up the details of the court case, but I'm pretty sure that it was not pay the fine or go to jail as outcomes of the case itself. It's the outcome of the case was the fine, and if you don't pay the fine, the punishment is go to jail. It's like breaking your bail condition, right?
But he hadn't gotten to, like, the thing is, like, he hadn't gotten to the point where they would have started garnishment proceedings. Like, none of that happened. Like, I'm pretty sure all that was, like, supposed to start happening, but, like, it was like he got a paycheck and then, like, or something, and, like, the money just was, like, out of his account. I'd have to go back and watch it, but
yeah, I'd have to actually, like, read the documents in detail to see what, because that actually, I remember the proceedings for garnishment wasn't that his complaint?
No,
what was the outcome of that?
So he did a whole appeal and then he appealed to the High Court in the UK, which basically told him no, and then he appealed to whatever the EU's Court of Human Rights thingy or whatever it is.
Well, they were definitely not going to.
They told him no, especially considering that the EU. That one EU director for social media basically said, we're clipping the wings of Twitter and that we're going to make them censor shit. That there's a video of him saying that, like, are you fucking serious? Why is everyone afraid of speech?
I mean, because speech threatens power. You have to understand that when it comes to corralling and controlling a group of people, you have to exercise an amount of control and influence over them, an amount of power. Otherwise, it doesn't work, right? If you try to exercise control without power, then it's nothing. It's toothless and ineffective. You essentially just have an anarchy. You'd have what would closely resemble, I would say, I don't know. I can't think of a proper parallel, but someone will think of it in the chat. Anyways, that power is much, and you get addicted to this. That power is much easier to exercise and influence when you can control what people say and think, and what they can publish and write and read and transfer to each other. The internet has long been the biggest opponent of control and authority since its inception.
That's a good point.
And it pisses people off to this day. And that is why there's so many moves to censor it. And the US has this unfortunate thing. Every American politician will call the First Amendment unfortunate because it threatens their power.
Like,
it's great, you know, it's great when the Democrats were in control of the House and the Senate and the presidency, right? And then they were like, "Oh man, this this Constitution is such a bother. It's always in our way. We just want to do our agenda." And the Republicans are like, "Yeah, respect the Constitution." Now that the Republicans have control of the House, if they pass something unconstitutional, what do you think is going to happen? And also, they have stacked the Supreme Court too.
So it's funny now because I'm looking at some of my websites I keep an eye on occasionally for like free speech issues and stuff. Is apparently now that Elon, like, no one cared to regulate Twitter before now. It was build your own social media platform, boys. Right?
Guess what? I just bought yours instead.
$44 billion later. Guess what? Senator Malarkey calls for Twitter regulation after Elon Musk ignored his letter. Senator Markey wants social media regulated for, quote, safety. And then former CIA analyst on Twitter says freedom of speech is just nonsense. Like, Jesus Christ, like, Elon Musk, don't get me wrong, Elon Musk is kind of a douche in a lot of ways. But for his antics on the Twitter purchase has been the funniest timeline. Best anime crossover of all time. Like, never could have pictured this dimensional merge. Like, it's like causing all the people. And the funny thing is I think Crumb from Crumbreon, Knucklehead's channel, pointed out on Twitter recently, is a lot of the people who were leaving Twitter, like, I'm leaving Twitter, we're going to Mastodon, and are trying to like ban each other on Mastodon and shit because they don't like what other people are saying. And it's just this shit show. Like, they don't understand how Federation works, which Mastodon, for its goods and bads, is a good idea to have federated instances so it's not censorable, right?
God, it'd be really funny if Mastodon ends up being like a left-wing Tumblr clone.
Well, there's been certain, like, because Mastodon, I think the coders were kind of like, because it's been around for a long time. Like the protocol that Mastodon stuff uses has been around for a while, and so it was, I think, originally like written by like left-leaning free speech kind of people, and not to pick sides or whatever for anybody, but. And so some of the main instances of like Mastodon and some of these other federated things have blocked like the right way, like have blocked like the Gab federated instance has been blocked by a lot of the main ones. Some of the other like right leaning have been blocked by some of the main Mastodon federated instances. But I can start my own federated instance and still communicate with them. It doesn't take much. Like, you can open a Docker instance and like click a few buttons and the shit's ready to go. And I could start up and run a small federated instance off my fucking home computer, or spend $5 to $10 on a VPS on like DigitalOcean or Linode and start my own federated instance. It's not hard. And so if I could still access those things if I want to, or start my own community, you've got the Chudbuds Mastodon Twitter alternative thingy or whatever now that Medicur and shit's on.
Yeah, I've been trying to get in touch with Medicur, and
dude,
I don't know. I think he's not feeling
Medicur.
well. What's up?
I would kill to interview Medicur. Like, that would be one of like top opportunities of my internet career.
Yeah, I've been. People keep saying to have him on Drex's show, which, by the way, is coming to an end very soon.
What's that?
Drex is ending MGTOW podcast.
Oh yeah, I remember him saying that. What's he starting up as a replacement?
Yeah, so he's going to start a new channel that's not associated with the M label that you can't say on YouTube.
Oh, is that because of that? Why not just rebrand?
I don't know. He knows that he can do that, but at the same time too, we want to leave the old. Well, we want to leave the old channel for archive, right? So that people can still find the podcast episodes.
Why don't you just upload them all as like archives?
You're asking a lot of work from someone who doesn't have a lot of time.
Motherfucker, I can script it for you and have the script do the work.
Oh, fuck, I can get Amr to do it for me.
Motherfucker, there's a fucking script. I can tell you, put this in, it will download the videos unless you have all the sources on your laptop or desktop or whatever. But it'll download the videos and re-upload them to a different channel. Like, it's not hard. Or you could put it, or like I said, spend $5 on a VPS and you'll have way faster bandwidth. And it'll download the videos and upload them to a different channel. There's your archive channel. Before I did the Rumble and Odysee shit, all my StreamYards went to Ken's Counseling Couch, Ken's Counseling Couch 2, and Ken's Counseling Couch Archive. Just the Ken's Counseling Couch 2 and Archive videos never were public. They were always private. In case my main channel ever went down, and I don't always have all the streams saved to my computer, I do have backups of the different streams I do. And now that I have Odysee and Rumble, all of my shit's synced to different platforms too. So,
is this because Drex has a wife now?
Yes.
I mean, kind of, sort of. Not directly.
It kind of hurts
not
the
directly.
label a bit.
I mean, no, it doesn't, because
it kind of does.
No, it doesn't. Everyone who knows it's just a joke. But I mean, that's what Drex wants to do, and I'm just gonna do it for him. I also want to be a lot more hands off on things, because I just don't have enough time. I really don't. If you see how hard it is for me to put out episodes on time each week now.
Well, that's because you guys do a lot. You do the produced episodes, and that just takes a lot. Like,
yeah,
doing straight up live streams.
Yeah, but
so much easier.
Okay, straight up live streams, which go for 5 to 7 hours, always take up so much of my time. I know people like that, but that's a lot of work for me.
So would you rather record and produce, or would you rather do live streams?
I'd rather actually do none of them.
So what, you want to
like, I'm going to teach Drexel how to do it. I'm going to teach Drexel how to use StreamYard.
I mean, it shouldn't be. I mean, I know
he just goes live whenever he wants. Oh, Phil says if you need a definitive personal website, speak to him.
I don't think I need one at this point. I don't think I'm in danger of losing my YouTubes. I don't think I have anyone pissed off at me at this point in time.
Yeah, like we have enough, and I have all of Drex's source files going away. Like, I found an old TFM lost recording. We never published it. So I threw it up as a bonus episode for last month, because I was like, oh, wow. But yeah, it's an 800 gigabyte fucking external hard drive that's full of everything we've ever recorded from day one.
Like, I try to keep, like, I don't, because before I did the Odysee sync and Rumble sync with the auto archiving shit, it was nice to have a couple different channels, because especially when, like, Nick was getting flagged during the Sophie stuff, and like he was getting those privacy strikes, I was worried about getting those too. I'm surprised I didn't, given everything that happened. Like, I was surprised I didn't, like, have my channel fucking taken away, given the people involved in the back end. But yeah, like, it's an evolution of content. That's what it is. Drex wants to do more kind of street interviews, pulling in call-in shows, and we still want to leave the old stuff up for people to go find. And I don't know, I think if we change the name of the channel, or if we create an archive channel, that'll break some people's bookmarks. What do you mean, if you change the name of it?
Yeah, so if we change the name of the channel, it'll break the bookmarks of the people who have MGTOWN Podcast or at MGTOWN Podcast mentioned. And then if we make the archive channel and put everything there and use this as the new content going forward, people who've bookmarked the channel ID number would break those links.
True.
So, not to mention, we also have the podcast archive through Spotify too. And all those, like, all the links on there would break too. So it's much, I think it's easier for Drexel conceptually to just start fresh. Like, getting to 1,000 subscribers for him would take almost no effort.
Yeah, like for me, it was like, I never ever figured out, which, funny enough, right before I streamed today, I was checking the subscriber count on the studio, and I was exactly at 2,222 subscribers. So
222.
I had quads baby. But I mean, for me, if I were to try and re-roll my channel, it would take a long time to get back.
Yeah, for Drex, I think it would be pretty quick. And I think it's just it is, we're not trying to obscure or hide anything from the audience. It truly is a rebrand and a refresh. And that's why it's a new channel.
I would assume you would do it over several weeks to give it time for people to come over to the new channel, get monetized and shit.
Well,
and
yeah,
we're
not just going MIGTOWN Tuesday night and then Wednesday morning we're now FIGTOWN podcast. And
well, no, I think it's actually just going to be called the Drex Show.
I think FIGTOWN would be better.
No. No.
See that? Also, real quick, I hate to fucking segue. That asshole who was arguing with me on Twitter about hate speech or about hate being illegal told me to give it up. Hate is illegal even if not used in a speech. Even though I support you as a transgender, go stand on a corner with a sign indicating it. See the hate then and good luck. Motherfucker doesn't understand laws. This person's a fucking idiot. Hate is not illegal. Holy shit, why is it so hard to understand?
God, if hate was illegal, then every left wing would be in jail.
Well, I mean, just say if hate was illegal, then we'd have a lot more fucking problems. There would be a lot more people thrown in jail for speech, which you cannot do in the United fucking States. Like, yeah, it's fucking frustrating when I see shit like this. And I'm like beating my head off a wall. Like, I'm not trying to sound like I'm always right, nor do I want to give that impression. But like, I know I'm legitimately right on this. I can cite the sources and shit. Like, if
you want to get into the technical legal definitions, hate definitely is not illegal. Hate's a modifier. The crime is illegal. The hate modifies it.
I told them that, and they were still like,
in and of itself, it's not illegal.
Actually, what exactly did they say when I told them that? I said, hate crimes are already crimes without the hate modifier added. Thus, hate itself is not illegal. If the hate is part of the already illegal activity, then you get, quote, hate crimes. Hate cannot by itself be illegal. To which they said, I don't like people who backpedal once they are proven wrong. They're always that but added to their first comment trying to change it. Sit down, you're done. And that's when I said, you didn't prove me wrong. Find any case law that criminalizes hate by itself, not a hate crime, because hate crime is a modifier.
Yeah, Find first of all, that person's associating hate with any action. Then no, hate's purely an emotion. Hate's purely an emotional.
Hate is a thought and a feeling.
Well, we don't have to bring OnlyFans into this.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up your OnlyFans. I'm sorry. But no,
says the guy who apparently keeps blueballing us. Look,
listen, they won't fucking verify me. They will not.
Are we going to get big black couches before or after Drexel's Baldo review?
I'm probably going to have to switch to I'm probably going to have to switch to like Just for Fans or something to get approved because OnlyFans will not approve me.
At the same time, Ken, you've already been doxxed. So at this point, just, go under your real. Can't you like use an obscured username?
Well, the thing is, I could, but it's
like,
weird.
You remember, you only have to prove your identity to OnlyFans.
I know,
but then you don't have to like use your real name on your OnlyFans, right?
But the thing was, I submitted my ID pictures, I submitted all that, right? Put all my little fucking demographic information and shit in, but because the OnlyFans was titled Ken Jennings KF or whatever, I guess that was the issue.
Yeah, because you're trying to impersonate someone. That's why I'm not going to verify you.
Also, Jamie Gray has the best thing here. How can you hate Nazis if hate is illegal? Boom.
Yeah, BTFO. Go try that on a leftist sometime and see if pointing out their hypocrisy ever gets you anywhere. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Also, pull up Tracy's comment.
Hate can also be a behavior like a hate crime.
No, I'm going to disagree with that one. From the legal standpoint, hate is only the internal mental thought process. It speaks to the state of your mind when any action or inaction is committed. So
the hate it's similar to legally prejudice. Hate can't be the behavior.
Yeah, it's similar to prejudice, but different from discrimination. So discrimination is action or lack thereof based on a prejudicial thought. And it's the action or the very few instances where inaction is a crime, but there are some examples like you can have criminal negligence, but hate is an emotion based on anger. Those are the legal technicalities. There, in a legal sense, you're talking about of course, there's two elements of a crime, right? Actus reus and mens rea. the guilty act and the guilty mind. So you cannot use hate as any part of actus reus because it's not an action. It doesn't form any part of an action. It's only a motivation. And even less than a motivation, it's more of your state of mind when you committed the act. Because
I genuinely think legally I agree with you. I think as far as
yeah, and I think what Tracy's getting at is more of the therapist approach, in which hate is something that's expressed, and expression is an action, but not in a legal sense.
I could see where the mix up is, or where we're cutting like your side in Tracy's argument. Like I see where they're both coming from.
Because there is a distinction between internalizing, like, I hate N-words, versus saying out loud, I hate N-words. None of those have been a crime. None of those are a crime. In fact, even if the first one was a crime, that'd be really alarming. Just having the internal thought. Right?
Yeah.
Because imagine how would you ever enforce that?
Yeah, it makes a good point. Like, that's the thing I was trying to tell this person. Like, hate is like a thought. It's a state of mind. Like, it's not like you can't have a thought be illegal.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be like, for example, I can't just think my thoughts or my feelings of saying, hypothetically, or as an example of I hate the Jews by itself cannot be illegal. At least in the US.
By the way, Ken, even that sentence right there, you would raise a defense of legitimate debate if you were charged in Canada for promoting anti-Semitism by saying the sentence, I hate Jews. But then you would say, no, we were saying it in the context of having a debate about what is a hate crime.
It depends on the child. Sargon.
You understand how narrow our law is, right? How narrow it catches behavior.
I still don't like that it's a law, period.
Well, I know you don't. In a country that has the First Amendment, you probably wouldn't like that law. It'd probably be unconstitutional in a country such as the U.S.
And like I said, if that's where my bias is coming in here, I just don't understand how people can continuously accept the stepping on the rights. Like, because like I get into arguments all the time on gun control or gun debates on Twitter or different platforms or Reddit or whatever, like about why, regardless of the legal arguments, about the practical and philosophical arguments for self-defense and firearm ownership. And people legitimately like, I'd rather feel safe than have a gun. I'd rather feel safe not knowing everyone around me is going to whip out a gun and start shooting someone because they got shortchanged at the grocery store, or like I swear to God, this came up multiple times because there's been arguments for campus carry on college campuses in like Florida and stuff, right? Which I fully fucking support. Which in Florida, you could actually, and I did this in college when I was going to grad school, is you can keep your gun in your car, but it can't come with you to like class. Because in Florida, you don't actually have to have a concealed carry permit to keep it in your car as long as there is one thing in between you and the gun. So like your glove box or your center console. Like, and it has a click.
God, that's very similar to Canada's gun storage laws too. So,
but no, you don't have to have a trigger lock.
We don't have handguns, and
well, we have a lot of guns.
Yeah. So, none of this applies to handguns, but you can keep a hunting rifle in your vehicle so long as it is out of sight and contained within some other item. So obviously that's like a box, or if you've got a locking container,
but you don't have to have it
or something.
But like it doesn't have to be locked. Like I can if I don't have if my wife, because she doesn't have a concealed carry, but if she wanted to, she could just put the gun in the center console, make sure it's closed, no trigger lock, nothing. And then if she ever needs to, just open the console, grab the gun. Like a lot of states, they want like the box to be locked and like the trunk, and which I think is stupid. But Florida actually lets you leave it in your vehicle on college campuses. It's specifically codified in the law that the college cannot prohibit you from doing that, which is pretty cool. But like there were arguments being made that students will shoot their teachers if they get bad grades, and like there's several states that have had campus carry, and not a single incident like that has ever happened. One, you got to be 21 to conceal carry anyway. Two, if assuming it's not a constitutional carry state, you have to have background check, fingerprinting, all that. The stat, like, those things don't happen. It's like using the exception to justify like the rule or law that you're trying to implement. Like,
so I actually have here.
what do we got here?
So these are Canada's storage and transportation. Sorry, I'm going to make that a little bigger. Storage and transportation rules. So we have 3 classes of guns. Non-restricted apply to most bolt action hunting rifles and shotguns, and any semi-automatic platform that carries under 5 rounds or lower in its magazine. So it is legal to buy an AR-15 in Canada. It has to its magazine's pinned out at 5 rounds. So restricted use most handguns. There's a couple of exceptions, not worth going into. And prohibited are fully autos, semis modified to fully, semis. Yeah, or sorry, fully modified to semi. There's a couple of others that are just some weird exceptions. But if you just think of of your most common hunting rifles, those fall under the non-restricted. So here's here's what you need to do in order to transport non-restricted firearms in your car. They are unloaded. If you leave your car, then these rules need to be followed. Other than that, all goes. The only thing is the gun cannot be in a ready to fire position while it's in your car. There's also this is displaying your firearms in your house openly. So they must be either rendered inoperable or they have a device that makes their bolt mechanism inoperable. And then there's storage of ammunition as well. But yeah, restricted. Sorry, that's for... Yeah, this is for the storage in your house. So the trigger lock only refers to storage in your house, which is assumed to be unattended because you're at work during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're actively attending to firearm and it's in your car, this is the only rule you need to follow. Now there are exceptions for national parks. I'm sure there is in the U.S. too. You're not allowed to bring hunting rifles into national parks.
Well, it's like for example, in Florida, and I'll go out there and say I've done this, is I've gone to several concerts where the venue does not allow you to bring firearms, but it's not illegal to. Just the venue can deny you access. I've brought my fucking gun to venues like concerts and shit because sometimes bad shit happens. Well, I mean,
that's where it's going to happen, right?
Well, if it's going to happen somewhere, it's going to happen somewhere like that. I've got the right to carry. I'm going to fucking carry my gun with me. I'm disabled. I'm not going to be able to run fucking fast if shit goes down. Like,
and my law school actually doesn't have, specific rules regarding anything that is not already stated here in the RCMP manual. And because we have a licensing system in Canada, you have to pass a test on these rules before you're allowed to carry firearms in Canada. So, you don't get to plead ignorance of the law. But yeah, my law school doesn't have rules that are over and above any of these rules. Going to the campus, I can have the gun in my car, even in the open, as long as it's unloaded. Now, am I going to cause a lot of problems with it being visible from the roadway? Yeah, probably. And I'm probably going to get pulled over, and the cop is probably going to take the gun, and then he's going to conduct an investigation. And I'm using air quotes, even though my video is not on.
I know. I figured.
Right? If I then leave my car at the college and I go attend class, okay, these are the rules I have to follow. It has to be in a container, but notice in the image that they give you, it does not have to have a trigger lock. If it's in a locked container, the trigger lock is not mandatory. It then must be in a lockable compartment. So a trunk or some sort of like pickup trucks will have these bed embedded tool cases. If you don't have that, then it has to be out of sight. So for trucks that don't have that, you can put them behind the seat, especially if you have just like the front the front row bench, a single cab pickup truck. So
Yeah.
you pull the seat forward and there's just a space behind it up against the back wall. So you can put the gun there in its locked case so that it's out of sight. Maybe you cover it with something so it's not visible, right? And then there's an exception for if you're in the remote wilderness, which wouldn't apply in my situation. So we actually have similar rules to you. It's just you got to know the rules. Now, at the same time, obviously, the big difference is you don't get the same leeway with handguns because in Canada,
those are illegal.
in order to transport a handgun, you have to call the police and ask for permission to transfer it.
Jesus Christ, seriously?
Yep.
God damn.
So, so the only anyone can get a restricted firearm license, but the only way you can obtain a restricted handgun before the new law goes into effect was if you leave it at a gun range, or you're participating in a shooting competition. And that was it. It's not for home defense. It's not for carrying with you. It's you either leave it at the gun range or you go to wherever the competition is and you arrange to have it sent there.
I mean, I could argue for a bit on why that I don't like that, but I do think I'm going to need to cut this short because I'm starting to not feel good, and I think I'm overdue for meds. And I don't feel good. So, and I gotta get up early as shit in the morning for this interview, one of 2 interviews. So, I was hoping not to run too long tonight. Wasn't trying to cut you off or anything, but
of course. Anyways, good chat. I'll jump out while you do your outro.
Okay. So thanks for coming up and explaining all the legal stuff. And
yeah, of course.
Canada's things that I don't understand. So, but take care, Tim.
Take care.
Well,
I guess I should plug my channel.
Oh yeah, do the plug.
Question mark. Yeah, you can find me at Lost in Law. Oh, I'm under the wrong account. Let me switch that.
Spam it in the chat.
I was about to comment as Big Town Podcast, and I'm like, no, that's probably not right.
Wrong one.
But yeah, you can find me at Lost in Law. That's where I do my legal stuff. So if you want more of my legal commentary and analysis from the Canadian perspective, from the perspective of a first-year law student, by the way, hashtag I'm not a lawyer. Not yet, anyways.
Hashtag I anal for Tim. So.
Yeah, check out my YouTube channel. Very small, just getting started, but and I haven't posted in a while because I've been sick and busy. We just had our fall reading break, and then I got COVID after that. So,
well, hopefully you're feeling better.
Yeah, today is probably the first day I've felt symptom free. I'm probably going to stay home tomorrow from class just to be safe, but then I'll be back at it on Tuesday. Get ready for midterm exams.
Well, good luck on your
midterm exams.
I do not. As much as I want to go get my doctorate, I don't want to do more school. I'm fucking out. I would love the doctor in front of my name.
You know what? You know something, Ken? I'm going to give you some like fatherly advice here. I know one of my comp sci professors, he only got masters, so he can't tenure at my school. He can only be a associate professor.
Well, the thing is,
become tenured because he doesn't have his PhD.
The most I can
he says the biggest regret, and he doesn't have a lot of regrets. He's a pretty chill guy, really nice guy. I treat him as like a confidant for, whenever I was going through hard times.
Yeah.
He said the only regret he's got in his life is that he didn't finish his PhD when he had the chance because it holds him back so much.
Well, I mean, because I could get my DSW, which is it's more of a practical versus a research one. I could get my PhD or DSW in like a 2 or 3 year program because I already have a master's. But if I really wanted to do it right, I would hate myself to do it this way because I should have did it this way from the beginning, but I didn't think it through. Is to get my PhD in clinical psychology, but I would have to do 4 to 5 years, and I don't know if I could do that. And then all the post-grad stuff, like the postgraduate stuff, like all the hours. Like it's just a lot. I would
Well,
rather
if
just
you-
do like the DSW or PhD and just be done with it. Have like a PhD in social work or DSW, and just be done with it, and just have the doctorate name and title. I don't. There's some limitations as far as like what you can do with like the master level versus the psychologists kind of stuff. It's not much that really impacts what I want to do. But there are things that would help to be the clinical psychologist stuff.
Look at it
But
this
it's
way,
just
Ken.
a lot of
'cause-
work and a lot of money.
I mean, look at it this way. I guess the money is probably something you
The
can't
money's a
afford
big
to just
part.
waste, to like throw away. But look at it this way: it's something that you can always start and not finish, but you'll always regret. You'll always think back if you never even tried. You'll always
I
think
think
back to what if.
I have an idea of when I would possibly start that process, but it's not at the moment.
Yeah,
There's too much going on right now. But
I don't know what Tracy's saying. That's bullshit for that. You don't need a PhD
for our field.
Oh yeah. No, for
You can do a lot
for
with a
computer
master's.
science, you need a PhD to be a tenured prof.
But like, I mean, you would still be like, I think adjunct at like most colleges.
Yeah, and
For
that's what he
what the-
does. But the problem
You
though
can
is
still
that he's
make
got no
good money-
job
yeah.
security.
That's the shitty part. But
Yeah, if just one day, one bad tweet, one wrong thing he says in class, student complains, me too's him, anything at all, and he just loses everything. He's got no, he's not represented by the union. And without tenure, he doesn't have the security of saying like, no, I know I'm going to make this much every year, because it depends on how many courses they give him to teach.
true.
And so he puts this guy is the best prof I've ever had in undergrad, because he puts so much prep into his teaching. He put so much prep, and then he put in a tiered reward system for handing in assignments early. He'd give you bonus marks if you handed in assignments early, or he'd give you if you handed an assignment 1 week early, then you could convert it into a 4-day late credit for another assignment. So, yeah.
I had some very flexible teachers because I was going through some back issues during grad school, and my disability accommodation saved my fucking grad school, man. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to throw a link to my channel in chat there. I'll just spam it a couple times.
Yeah. So spam that shit, and then take care, get better. I know Spectre was not feeling good too, so hopefully Spectre gets better. Anyone else who's sick and
yeah, he caught the gay. I mean, I feel bad for him.
Yeah, that's true. I said he had sand, but somewhere. But take care, Tim.
See ya.
And take care, chat. Like I said, I don't know that I'm gonna be out of town, so whatever happens next week, I don't know if anything's actually gonna be done streaming. Maybe do some locals live chats to make up for something. Don't know yet, but everyone take care, enjoy yourselves, and have a great day. And I'm pretty sure I can still play the outro. So peace. Peace.
Crash it, change it, melt, upgrade it, charge it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, write it, get it, text it, save it, load it,